far as costs. And I think those of us in positions of leadership need to spend more time and energy, as was mentioned earlier, educating the public, because I think the public will make smart, logical decisions and will allow our elected officials and those of us in leadership positions to do the right thing, but we need to be more effective at getting that information out. And so that's what's happening tonight, having this number of people here, but we need to be even more effective. Thank you for your time, and thank you for coming to Rochester, and we look forward to seeing you come back frequently.
Same here. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Councilor. My name is Steve Pesci. I'm from the University of New Hampshire in Durham, and we were unable to attend the GACIT meeting in Durham, so I decided to come tonight so that we can give our comments. I also should state that I have been a long-time representative on the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. UNH is an active participant in both Stratford and Rockingham, and I serve on the New Hampshire Rail Transit Authority and have been involved in the transportation planning process in this state for 25 years. So, Ken, to your point, it's amazing.
Is that also half your life, or you weren't willing to stay?
Yeah, it's very close. I was having some thoughts as Ken was saying that. So I want to start by expressing appreciation to the DOT staff. One thing I can say over those years is we have a phenomenal DOT that no matter what the situation is in terms of funding and issues, I think consistently comes to our community and gives us clear, meaningful, and transparent presentations and processes, and we're very appreciative of that. I don't think that happens in a lot of states. I also am here representing not just the university as an administration, but I really think at some point, and this was mentioned earlier, it's a community of 17,500 faculty, staff, and students. We as well run a transit system, which you may or may not be aware of. It's the largest in the state in terms of ridership, with 1.2 million trips last year. And it's kind of unique in that that population at UNH pays for all the operating costs. We look to the federal government to assist us with capital, buses, but when it comes to the day-to-day running of the system, it is the community at UNH that imposes a transportation fee on themselves to pay for transit and a bike system and all these other services, because our community knows this is a great value. So students right now impose a fee on themselves of $108 a year, knowing that it is a bargain to have great transit in the region, connecting with Coast, connecting with the Amtrak Down Easter, connecting with CNJ Intercity Bus. It is a bargain, and they're making that choice, and we see student car ownership dropping year after year on our campus, and that's a great sign. We're a little disappointed that some of the infrastructure that has enabled us to be so successful, that the DOT has an understanding, responding to these fiscal pressures, made a decision to roll back some very important programs. The CMAQ, congestion mitigation, air quality, and enhancement programs are not fluff. They're not icing. Contrary to some, national discussions that, they're just little recreational bike trails. Well, I can state for a fact in this region they're not. You may or may not know that over the past 12 to 15 years of these programs, we built a first-class park and ride bus system. First at Pease, I-95, then Dover, soon Rochester, served by a private intercity bus carrier that gives our region first-class bus service to Boston and Logan, connecting with 3 excellent rail stations that connect our region to Boston, Portland, and soon Brunswick and Freeport. Every year we're seeing easily 500,000 New Hampshire residents in our region using those services. Those facilities would not exist without the CMAQ program. I did some rough calculations in just the park and rides that I mentioned. $7 million of CMAQ investment over the last 15 years. The proposal on the table would take the Transportation Enhancements Program, which unfortunately, and to our congressional staffers here, that's the first cut, a proposal of 30% at the federal level, but then we would kind of pig pile on that and cut another 50%, dropping what is a $4 million enhancement program a year to 1.7. That is, as I think Rad's comment, that's beyond the bone, that's decapitation, and it's a problem. These programs really highlighted exactly the type of locally designed, peer-reviewed, cost-effective programs that we should be encouraging in our country. Matter of fact, Federal Highway Administration has pointed out the New Hampshire's CMAQ and TE programs as a model. Why is it a model? it's bringing local match into the transportation system. Many of our projects, UNH, the towns, the federal money is matched with local money, locally raised tax money, not state of New Hampshire money. So that brings more money into the infrastructure. The projects are locally managed. I can state from UNH's perspective, we don't charge an administrative and overhead fee to the projects. The customer is getting a really good value for these projects. And I think it really emphasizes it as grassroots, community-developed projects that compete in a transparent, open state committee process that has worked phenomenally through, I think we're probably in round 6, 7, or 8 of those programs. Another big thing that the enhancements program has been used for in the state that's critically important is buying right-of-ways and easements for the future. Whether it's rail corridors that are being sold or properties that become future rail line, we have been investing that money in buying land for transportation infrastructure. UNH, we have been very successful in these programs, and I'm not ashamed to admit it because it's the students who have supported it. Over the past 12 years, in Durham, the town of Durham and the University of New Hampshire brought in over $12 million of federal money to our town for these CMAQ, TE, and other programs, and we've made it work. You've seen Main Street reconstructed, the entire length of Main Street rebuilt with new bike lanes, new lighting, safer street, better working. It was an old state highway that was left. We've turned it into an appropriate street for a pedestrian-based community. Lots of new buses at UNH. We're very proud of them. A lot of them run alternative fuel. And again, our model where we use federal money for capital only. A lot of investment in alternative fuel infrastructure. The university now runs with CNG and biodiesel. 50% of our transit fleet runs on alternative fuels, and 15% of our regular fleet, non-transit fleet, runs on alternative fuels. I mentioned the rail stations, and we're very proud to say that as of next year, we will be serving Rochester again. And to Jeremy's point, returning bus service from Durham to Rochester via the New Hampshire 125 corridor. Rochester has become one of the biggest employment centers for UNH. This will be an employee-based service Monday through Friday, tailored to staff working hours. Many of the staff that live in this area are lower paid staff. They will appreciate us being an employer of choice that provides them with free transportation. We mentioned safety, and I just want to point out an interesting fact I looked at. In 2005 to 2009, there were 50 bicyclists killed on the roads in New Hampshire. 50. In that same period on I-93, there were 8 fatalities. I think that's a testament to the safety of our highway infrastructure, but if we are truly thinking of transportation investments for safety, we need to keep in mind where the real fatalities are happening. And I think our communities, our region have stated how important safety is. There are 2 elephants in the room, in my opinion. We've mentioned the funding one, but I think on a state level, there's the meager, and then there's the mega. The mega is I-93. I-93 is New Hampshire's big dig. I did a little digging back, and if you pulled out the 2001 to 2010 10-year plan, if you added up all the I-93 projects, there's 100 projects, there's $162 million. Today, that number can easily, depending on how you do the math, exceed $750 million. $750 million, $750 million being put into the I-93 corridor. I don't deny that that is a lifeline to this state, but I'm saying we need to think cost effectiveness. And I would suggest to you that these smaller projects, the local projects, the regional projects, have a bigger return on the dollar in terms of people's everyday lives. I give a good case in point for you. New Hampshire 108, widening from Durham to Newmarket. When I say widening, I mean shoulders, bike shoulders. This was one of the first enhancements projects funded in, I believe, 1998. It's still not built. And sadly, when we pick up the 10-year plan today, it's been delayed again. Now it's 2014. We are testing fate that there has not been a fatality on that stretch of road, given the number of bicyclists, let alone the fact that the shoulders would add to the structural integrity of the road. That's the kind of decision-making that we are troubled by. And my community that bikes on that road, that travels on that road, is troubled by. $750 million for I-93, but we are taking 15 years to finish an approved project on a regional state highway. I want to just emphasize what Ken had said about sustainability. This trend of increasing delays in decay in infrastructure, delays in projects, and lowering the revenue, it is not a sustainable trend. It is not good for our economy. We have to change that. No one would argue with the need to repair and fix red list bridges, but I think we have to keep some of the bigger points that Ken brought up in mind. We are a tourism-based state. People come to this state for our communities. They do not come to this state to experience simply a 6-lane interstate highway. They're only using the highway to get to somewhere. And what we want to make sure when we make our transportation choices, we are focused on the destination, where people are going to, where people live. And I just would close by saying that the students that I represent that live in Durham, they understand the value of these investments in congestion mitigation projects and enhancement projects. Yes, we need a highway system, but we need a lot more. And those younger adults that come through UNH and experience a balanced transportation system, they are going out into the real world, and they are going to expect that in the state they choose to live in. It's no secret that New Hampshire, like New England, has a huge outflow of educated young people. If we don't change direction in how we think about this and realize it's not just about highways anymore, we're not going to turn that flow around. So I would suggest to you that I appreciate DOT's effort. I think the decisions are somewhat misguided, and I hope that they will reconsider some of the cuts and go back to the balanced transportation system that we have spent the past 25 years trying to build. Thank you.
Thanks. Would you mind taking a couple questions, actually? I was at another hearing in Northwood, and they were concerned about the traffic. There's a lot of traffic between Durham and Concord, and I had heard a rumor that since UNH just obtained the law school in Concord, that there might be some discussion about having bus service from Wildcat from Durham to Concord.
Yes, Councilor, that's correct,
Is that true?
and it actually plays into the discussion tonight. The university very much wants to connect its campuses in Durham, Manchester, and now Concord with the law school. We can't do that on our own, even with the aggressive student support we have. So we're looking for partnerships. We've been in discussions with Coast and Manchester Transit, but it is a classic case where we will need help with the infrastructure, whether it's capital, or we've been talking with the newly selected provider, again, CMAQ-funded project to connect Portsmouth to Manchester and Manchester Airport, looking at creative technologies that would have on-demand connections from Durham to 125 and Route 101 to get on the state-funded, the CMAQ-funded bus route. But again, Councilor, none of that can happen without the CMAQ funding. The basic principle is the state of New Hampshire does not contribute to transit. So it's going to be federal money and then what I would call local, whether it's a university, a town, a large employer, a private transit business. We have to be creative. We're trying very much, and we would like to see that happen in the next few years.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Diane Gibbons. I'm representing the local citizens of the community. I am an avid cyclist, and I echo everything that the gentleman just said. And thank you. The Durham bike paths are wonderful. I ride there all the time. I ride my bike for recreation. I ride my bike to do errands. I ride my bike to go to work. And I have been hit twice by a car. I'm still here. And I still ride because I believe in the benefits beyond the economic ones that have been spoken to tonight. I totally agree with the grassroots. The amount of money that you're looking to divert is so small as to what the impact could be on those larger projects and the effect on those larger projects. But the effect on the local grassroots projects are huge, especially when you look at the fact that the 20%, the communities have to put up that 20% as well. The loss of that money down the road is huge and a huge impact as compared to the improvements to the highways and whatever else you might divert that money to. And once you divert the